Sarah grew up in a home where faith wasn't just part of her life, it was her life. Her father was a deacon, her mother led the women's ministry, and her family attended church at least 4 times a week. Rules were strict: no makeup, no dating, no cellular music, of course, no parties. In fact, Sarah barely played with her mates. As a child, Sarah never questioned it. She saw it as a normal way of life, as her father would always teach her that being and growing in the church was a perfect life. She memorized Bible verses, led prayers, had family devotions. Even at 4 years, Sarah has already started reading the Bible and praying in family devotions. And she was the first to always volunteer for church activities. But as she grew older, the expectations began to weigh on her. By the time she was 18, Sarah felt she was suffocating under the pressure to be perfect. Sarah's chance at freedom came when she got accepted to a university 3 hours away. Her parents were hesitant at first, but she convinced them by choosing a Christian college. "You don't have to worry about me. I'll keep my faith. I'll keep going to church. I'll keep volunteering for service. I'll keep volunteering for roles in the church." Her first semester started innocently enough. She attended chapel services, joined a campus Bible study, and even called home every day to recount the church activities, and on Sundays to tell her parents about the sermon she heard. But living far away from her parents' watchful eyes stirred something in her, a curiosity about the world they shielded her from. Her roommate, Lisa, was the opposite of Sarah: loud, carefree, and unbothered by rules. "Come on, Sarah," Lisa said one Friday night. "Let's hit a party." You don't have to drink, I promise. Just come for the vibe. You are definitely going to enjoy it. Remember the hot guy? He is going to be there. Jake is definitely going to come for this party. Come on now." At first, Sarah refused, but Lisa persisted. "It's just one night now. Girl," Lisa said. "Besides, you're not going to tell me that you plan on spending the rest of your university days inside this hostel." The party was nothing like Sarah had imagined. The music was loud. The air smelled with sweat and alcohol, and people danced like they didn't have any care in the world. At first, Sarah felt out of place, clutching her soda and hovering near the wall. But then a guy named Jake, the hottest guy in their department, struck up a conversation. He was funny and charming, and for the first time, Sarah felt like someone saw her just beyond a church girl. "You are different," Jake said, "but in a good way. I've actually been looking at you and admiring you, the way you carry yourself. You're not like all those other girls in our department." Sarah smiled shyly as she was so engrossed in the praises of Jake, the richest and hottest guy in their department. That night, Sarah danced for the first time in her life. She laughed, let her guard down, and stayed for the party past midnight. By her second year, Sarah had perfected the act of living a double life, at church and when she was visiting home. She was a role model in the church, quoting scriptures and leading worship with sweet smile. At school, she was someone entirely different. To maintain her new lifestyle, club outfits, makeup, and occasional dinners with her friends, Sarah began seeing older men who offered her money and gifts in exchange for her company. She justified herself, saying, "After all, I'm not doing anything illegal now. It's not like I'm hurting anybody." She thought. One of these men were Tom. He was a very wealthy man in his late 40s. He took Sarah to fancy dinners, paid her rent, paid her lifestyle, all the travel expenses, and she was never broke in school. "You are too beautiful to struggle, girl. Allow me take care of you. Allow me show you the world." Her friends in school knew Tom. and they joked about it. Lisa, who had become one of her closest confidants, was the one who sometimes questioned her. Are you sure you want this? I mean, the age difference. Girl, Sarah would always take it off. It's just temporary. Come on, it's just for the money. It's just for the lifestyle. Huh? I can't be going around with all these small boys. They can't offer me anything. Once I graduate and I get a job, I promise I won't need anybody's help. And besides, he said that once I graduate, that he'll definitely find me a job in this oil company. Come on, girl, this is the way. During a holiday break, Sarah returned home from her church's annual youth retreat. She wore a mother's dress and tied her hair into a simple ponytail, transforming herself back into the perfect daughter. Her childhood friend, Rachel, noticed a change in her. You seem different, Rachel said as they prepared for church. Sarah laughed nervously. Come on, university has a way to change you. I mean, you won't really understand. Later that night, Sarah sat in one of the small discussion groups when one of the younger girls shared her struggles with peer pressure. Sarah gave a heartfelt speech about resisting temptation. We are called to be lights in darkness, she said. They responded. Even when it's hard. Come on, ride on. We are children of God. We are greater than temptations. Ride on. The girls looked at her with admiration, but Rachel narrowed her eyes. You are so good at saying the right things, Rachel said quietly after the service. But are you living the life you are preaching? Sarah's stomach twisted. Of course I am, she snapped, but Rachel's words stayed with her. Things came to a head when Sarah was out with Tom at a high-end restaurant. She was laughing at something he said when she heard a familiar voice. Sarah. She turned to see Mrs. Jacqueline, a longtime family friend and a member of her church. The older woman's eyes widened as she took in Sarah's revealing dress and Tom's hand resting on her. Mrs. Jacqueline, Sarah stammered. I wasn't expecting to see you here. Miss Jacqueline smiled tartly. I didn't expect to see you here either. Is this a friend of yours? Sarah nodded quickly. Yes, he's just a friend of mine. The encounter left her shaking. For the first time, she realized how deep her double life has become. When Sarah returned to school, Lisa confronted her. What's going on with you? Lisa asked. Nothing, Sarah said defensively. Don't give me that. You've been acting weird ever since you got back from the retreat. Is it because of Tom? Sarah sighed. It's not because of him, Jare. It's just everything. Come on, she sighed sadly. My family, the church, school. I feel like I am all tied up in this. I don't know how to stop. Sincerely, I don't know what to do any longer. Lisa sighed softly. Maybe it's time to choose who you want to be. You can't continue living a double life. You will get caught up in it one day. The next Sunday, Sarah stood before her church, her hands trembling. I need to confess something, she said, her voice cracking. I haven't been honest with you or myself. I have been living a double life, being someone I didn't grow up to be. Her parents looked at her, their faces a mixture of confusion and hurt. Rachel and Mrs. Jacqueline exchanged knowing glances. I've made mistakes, Sarah continued, tears streaming down her face, and I don't want to hide it anymore. I'm not asking for your forgiveness, but for God's forgiveness and grace as I try to make things right. Some members of the church distanced themselves from Sarah after her confession, but others embraced her with compassion. Lisa, moved by Sarah's honesty, started attending church more regularly. Sarah broke things off with Tom and began seeing a counselor and a pastor to address her struggles. Her journey was far from being perfect, but for the first time in years, Sarah felt like she was living authentically. And as she walked in the difficult parts of rebuilding her life, she clung to one truth: God's grace is enough. Thank you everyone for watching. What are your thoughts on this story? Are there life lessons to learn from this story? Share it in the comment section so that we can know your thoughts. Also, do not forget to like, share and subscribe. Also, turn on your notification bell so that whenever we post new videos, you'll be the first to get the notification. Please stay tuned, and more interesting stories are coming your way from this channel. Thank you so much.